Alright guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today. This time we are doing another little out and about video. Today I am in Tartu in the southeast of Estonia, the second city, and we're going to have a look at this place here. So Emajõe Pruulikoja Õllekelder, if I'm pronouncing that rightly. But yeah, this one is a little local brew pub, so let's go in and have a little look at this and see how we get on. Right guys, so just to let you see where we are, this is the Tartu Turahune, the Tartu Market Hall, and the brewery itself is just round on this side here. The corner of the building is the south corner, but yeah, Tartu Turahune. So basically find the pig, go round the side here and you'll find the brewery bar just round the corner there. So let's go in and have a look properly. So yeah guys, this is the entrance to the Emajõe Pruulikoja Õllekelder here, so this is where we're going to go in. But yeah, just to orientate yourself, this is the back of the building I showed you a second ago. You can see the McDonald's over there, the Tesco building, H&M and things like that. But yeah, as I said, this is the south corner of the building. There you can see there's the opening hours. If you go through this door here, we're going to go down the stairs in just a second. But yeah, if you look through here, as you can see, this is the market hall, which is pretty cool. But yeah, let's go down and look at the bar itself. Let's have a little look at this. So yeah, you come down the stairs, you see, Emajõe Pruulikoja. Another sign here. Through the big door, and then into the bar. So yeah, really kind of nice little bar, this one. We've got Seam chilling, working away. Here we go. And yeah, some nice stuff on the wall here. Lots of Estonian that I don't really understand, but there you can see the map of Estonia here. We of course are in the southeast sorry, down here, mixing up my directions. But yeah, it's a pretty nice little bar. The artwork on the walls, I think, is really very cool. But yeah, there you can see, here is their tap list that they have today. So I've picked out the 3 beers of their own, the Stout, the Lager and the wheat beer. So we'll be tasting those in a little minute. But yeah, this is the thing here. So for about 400 millilitres you're paying, yeah, between 3 and 5 euros. And yeah, you can also get the little tasters too. So €6 for 3 of them, 6 for 10 euros and 10 for 15. So pretty good prices. But yeah, they've also got a little beer fridge over here with lots of different Estonian beers like Kebliku and Poida, other things like that, a few Leia things in there as well. So yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, they do have their food menu as well, and this is it in English on the side here. So there's a few interesting things, and the prices of course are very reasonable as well. So yeah, pretty good. I do fancy having a go at some of the dumplings or stuff, so we might have a little taste at some of the food in a second. So yeah, let's go and check out the beers and do the beer tastings then, see how we get on with these. Alright guys, so Seam went for these little potato chip things. So I think basically, yeah, bits of ham, bits of cheese and then a kind of mayonnaise dip. So Seam, how do you say this again? What was it? Oh, okay, right. I'm not going to have any chance of pronouncing that. But yeah.
We also have some mushrooms on them.
So little bits of mushrooms and things. But yeah, so yeah, Seam's having his little work snack and I'm going to do my work now. So yeah, let's do some beer tastings, guys. Right guys, so these are the 3 beers we're going to have a look at. So we have the Emajõe Keilakasta, which is the lager beer. We've got the Gunnar 9, which is the wheat beer. And then we have this one up here, the Emajõe Pruulikoja, which is the stout. So yeah, we've got 3. Apparently there is an IPA as well, but we're just kind of unfortunate on the day that we come here. We're here on the 4th of August, and apparently the beer will be back in September. So unfortunately we missed out on the IPAs. But yeah, we've got 3 beers to try. Let's get stuck in, guys. Right guys, our first tasting then. So we're going to have a look at the lager this time. So this one is the Keilakasta. So a lager beer, 4.6%, obviously a Helles type lager, this one. But yeah, from what Sim tells me, Keilakasta means like it's something to dip your tongue in, and if you look at the label there, you can see the pig, which is obviously, you saw that in front of the market earlier. He's having a drink of water out of the river, so that's obviously what they like to stick their tongue in here. Who knows? But yeah, as you can see then with this one, as you would expect from a lager beer, or from a Helles type lager beer, this one's got a lovely kind of pale golden straw colour to it. The head when this one was poured was kind of creamy. It wasn't perfect white, I would say, but yeah, this one crystal clear. And I have to say, I do like these little kind of mini Stein mug things. Sim and I were trying to figure out whether these were communist era or not actually, but still a really cool little touch. But these are 150 millilitres, by the way. But yeah, in terms of appearances for a lager beer, this one is pretty much what you would expect. So let's take a look at the aroma then and see how we get on. So yeah, aroma wise, again, it's quite what you expect. I find this one, you've got a little bit of that kind of pale malty quality in there. I'm pretty sure the malt in this, just going from the aroma, is German. It's got a lovely kind of pale malty bready base to it. At the same time, I think you can smell a little bit of a kind of Pilsner crispness to this one, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's maybe Czech Pilsen malt in this or German Pilsner malt. But yeah, this beer, it does come across as quite crisp and fairly biscuity, so you've got a nice little bit of that McVitie's digestive type quality coming out of this one, which is really nice. So yeah, I like the aroma. I like the way the aroma is coming out of this one. But so for me, yeah, the malt base in this one, a little bit sweet, a little bit biscuity, but it does have that kind of bready note that you would expect of this kind of style, if you like. On the hoppy side of things, you know, it's kind of, the hops aren't massively noticeable in this beer. It's got a little tiny bit of earthiness, that kind of quite bright earthiness you'd expect, a little bit of floral aromaticity, a bit of lighter grassiness, and then you've got some nice, you've got a few kind of peary esters in there, a little bit of a kind of apple-y thing, a wee bit of that kind of lemony, grassy, citrus type of thing. But yeah, it's kind of got what you'd expect from a lager beer, to be honest with you. You know, from a Helles lager beer. This. So yeah, it seems to be kind of what you'd expect. But let's get stuck into this one. So this one is the Keilakasta, 4.6% ABV from Emajõe Pruulikoja here in Tartu. Sláinte, skål, tervesex. Yeah, it's quite nice, that one. It's actually a good bit more bready in the flavour than I was thinking it was going to be. I thought it might be more kind of crisp and things, but it does lean a little bit towards that kind of Czech style breadiness, and I have been noticing that with the Estonian beers. They do seem to have that nice kind of smooth, slightly bready base to them, so that's a kind of interesting thing. It seems to be a fairly constant in all the different breweries. So yeah, I like how this one goes together. But yeah, so yeah, straight away across the middle of your palate, you've got a really nice kind of white bready quality that blankets the middle of your tongue. As you progress further into the flavour, it does become a little bit more kind of brown bready, in fairness, a little bit of a bread crusty note. In the centre of your tongue, you get a little bit of a kind of biscuity, McVitie's digestive biscuity quality. This one, a little bit of a slightly oily, biscuity, grainy kind of thing there. Towards the back third of your tongue, it does get a little bit more grainy, like I said. On the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, a little bit of earthiness there. As you come further forward, that smoothens out a little bit. You get some nice floral aromaticity on the kind of front corners of your palate. Then round the front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy. On the behind that front curve of your tongue, you've got a wee bit of the fruitiness, and again, it's that typical slightly kind of peary, apple-y type ester that comes out of this one. So yeah, it's got apple and kind of peary esters. This one, there is a wee bit of that kind of lemony, grassy, citrusy sort of thing in there as well. But I think this one's mainly kind of peary, but just with a little bit of an apple note, maybe even a little tiny bit of like gooseberry or something like that. But yeah, I mean, this one it is a fairly kind of typical sort of German Pilsner, Czech Pilsen type thing. It's maybe more of a Helles actually come to think of, like a Helles or a Svetli. It's got a little bit of the Pilsner Pilsen crispness to it, but at the same time, it does have a bit more of the kind of the Helles Svetli sort of breadiness to it, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's almost like a little bit of a hybrid of a kind of Pilsner or a Helles lager, actually, this one. So yeah, it's an interesting beer. This, I do like this. I wouldn't hesitate to drink, you know, a bigger one of these, but obviously just want to do little tastings for the moment. But yeah, mouthfeel, yeah, kind of, I'd say sort of mid-bodied, this one actually. I think the Estonian lagers are a little bit heavier than you would find from the German or the Czech ones. As I say, the Estonian ones seem to be quite smooth, and this one's a little bit oily, I think. So yeah, kind of smooth but quite oily mouthfeel to the beer. In terms of IBUs, I think you're talking less than 20 IBUs to this one. Malt base, like I said, smooth but a little bit of sweetness to it, and just a little bit of juicy fruity character as well. But yeah, this one I think this is quite a nicely done sort of Helles lager, but it does have a wee bit of Pilsner character to it as well. So yeah, this one is the Keilakasta, 4.6%, sort of Helles lager, Pilsner type beer, this one, and I like this. So yeah, let's leave the first tasting at that, and we'll go on to the next one, guys. There we go. So yeah, guys, this is what I'm on, just some little dumplings, just a nice little snack. So I got half chicken, half beef. They also did mushroom ones, but you know, Scottish people are allergic to vegetables. Well, at least I am. Alright guys, well, tasting number 2 then. So for this one we are going to look at the Gunnar, which is their wheat beer. Gunnar 9 maybe. But yeah, this one comes in at 4.5%, which is your kind of average alcohol percentage for a German style Hefeweizen. So yeah, and in terms of appearance, it looks the part as well. So nice kind of hazy, bright golden colour here. Again, that's kind of what you would expect of a Hefeweizen. Sometimes you'll find them a little bit hazier than this. When this beer poured, of course, it had a nice kind of creamy coloured foamy head on it. You can see if I put my finger behind the glass, it is fairly hazy. But yeah, in terms of appearance, nothing overly surprising about this beer. But yeah, let's look at the aroma and see what we get. So straight away, this one actually is one of the kind of sweeter Hefeweizens I've come across. It's got a little bit of a sort of candied banana quality to it. You can smell some of the white bready wheat in there, definitely. There is a bit of that kind of doughy yeasty quality that you sometimes get from the Hefeweizens too. But to me, the bananas in this one come out as it's really kind of candied actually. There's a wee bit of the clovey spice, a little bit of an almost bubblegummy note in there as well. So like a kind of banana bubblegummy note seems to be the kind of mainstay in this beer. You've got a, yeah. Yes, I'd say this one is one of the more candied Hefeweizens, I'd say, that I've come across actually. Definitely very, very sweet in terms of its malt base, and that varies from brewery to brewery, of course. But yeah, quite a nice aroma. So I'm curious to see if that turns out, if the candy notes kind of come through into the flavour, if you like. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things, again, it comes across like it's German noble hops that's in this. Little bit of a light sort of earthiness to the beer, a little bit of floral character, but I'd say mainly this one is fairly grassy. Of course, on the fruity side of things, you've got the banana notes in there, of course. There's a wee bit of a kind of appley peary thing as well, and maybe just a little bit of a sort of gooseberry kind of, yeah, gooseberry sort of note, and a bit of a lemony, grassy kind of citrusy note in there as well. But of course the main fruit that you get out of this one is the bananas, but that comes from the yeast, not so much from the hops in these beers. The Hefeweizens, it is all about the fact that I think it's usually about 40% of the malt base is wheat in a Hefeweizen, 60% is barley malt. But yeah, it should be nice, this one. But in terms of aroma, definitely one of the slightly more kind of candied smelling Hefeweizens that I've come across then. But yeah, let's have a taste of this one. So this one is the Gunnar 9, 4.5% Hefeweizen from, once again, from here in Tartu. So yeah, let's get stuck in. 36. Yeah, this is quite, this is actually a very light drinkable Hefeweizen. comes across as very clean in terms of its mouthfeel actually, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah. So yeah, this one for me, it's I'd say that it's really again it's quite smooth, but at the same time very clean. Straight away you feel that nice kind of wheaty base that blankets the middle of your tongue, and as you go further into the aftertaste, the flavour develops a little bit. You'll get some clovey kind of spicy notes out of it. You also get a little bit of you can feel this in the middle of your palate. You can feel the sort of banana, the kind of candied banana flavour sort of sitting there in the middle of your tongue too, which is nice. A little bit of a biscuity sweetness developing out of it too, but yeah, interesting. There are one or two little grainy elements towards the back, towards the back third of your tongue, but yeah, I do like how this goes together. It's a nice Weizen, this. But yeah, further forward in the kind of middle of your tongue, that's when you start to get the banana notes coming out. You can feel the clovey spice coming out a little bit later too. But on the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate again, very slightly earthy. As you move further forward, it does develop a little bit of a slightly herbal quality. Front corners of the palate, a little bit of a kind of floral aromaticity. Then round the very front curve of the tongue, just a wee bit lighter, and more grassy. But yeah, this is the hops. I think most very likely that it's like Hallertau or Tettnanger hops, one of the German nobles that's in here. Fruity side of things, yeah, fruity side of things. This one does have a wee bit of a kind of lemony, grassy, citrusy zest to it. A wee bit of an appley, more peary type thing to be honest. And then of course you've got the sort of candied bananas coming out from behind that. But yeah, the flavour of this one is pretty nice. One of the more kind of drinkable, sessionable Weizens that I've come across. As I've told you on the channel before, I used to love this style, and then I went to Germany and really got more into the Helles. And I found, to me, I treat Hefeweizens as more of a kind of tasting beer these days rather than a kind of sessionable one. I always find Weizens quite heavy, but this one is actually quite drinkable and quite sessionable, I would say. In terms of the mouthfeel, yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel, I would say that this one is quite, yeah, I'd say it's kind of mid-bodied, this one, bottom end of mid-bodied. Carbonation is very smooth. The mouthfeel overall, again, is pretty damn smooth, I would say. But it's quite clean. Right, it does have a little bit of the breadiness. It does thicken up a bit further you go into the aftertaste, but yeah, it does feel quite clean, this one. In terms of IBUs, I think we're talking the kind of standard 15-ish that you normally have for a Hefeweizen. Maybe it could be 20 at most. But yeah, the malt base is very, very smooth. Does get a little bit sweeter the further you go into the aftertaste, and there's just a little bit of a juicy, kind of fruity character coming out of this one. So yeah, I like how this goes together. Nicely done beer again. Very solid, very kind of authentic, and that's how we should rate both the Helles lagers and the Hefeweizen. So yeah, this one was the Gunnar, 4.5% Weizen, again from Emajõe Pruulikoja Tartu. Let's go and have a little look at our last beer then. So guys, yeah, I was taking a bit of a closer look at this map here, and it's actually a very, very cool idea. So what they have is, all of these dots are the various breweries around Estonia, but you also have a list of all of the different things there in the different counties. So yeah, you have in Harjumaa, you've got, Lea Pruulikoja, that's the one I would recognise there, and of course you've got Saku and Ullenalt and Tanker and things like that. So yeah, if you go down here, you can see in Tallinn itself, yeah, you have all of these different ones too, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so you can see Pohjola. So this is basically a list and a map of all the different breweries in Estonia. I think this is really, really cool actually. Very, very cool idea. So yeah, you can see here's Huma County, Ida-Viru, Lääne-Viru. They've got a nice list here of all the different breweries in Estonia. So you can see there's about 50 of them actually. It's really impressive. There's the ones down here. You've got Kebliku. So yeah, and there you can see in Tartu County. You've got Emajõe Pruulikoja, which is this one. You've got Puasta as well. So yeah, there's this idea of the Estonian map on the wall. I think this is very cool. And if you look here as well, on this one, you know, they've got a list of all the different styles and then descriptions of it in Estonian. There's a hell of a lot of information on the walls here. This is pretty cool. The interior of this little brew pub, I think, is very, very cool actually. So yeah, some nice artwork on the walls here. We just kind of skimmed over it earlier, but let's just take a closer look at this, because I think it's kind of something that we should appreciate. Every so often you'll come across breweries like this where there's been a lot of work put into the surroundings and stuff. So there you've got your beer bottle clock. That's pretty damn cool, I have to say. Yeah, we're here at about, I think maybe about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so yeah, it's pretty quiet, which is nice for filming obviously, but yeah, I'm sure it gets a lot busier and things at other times. But yeah, they've got a wall over here where the guests have kind of signed and things like that as well. So a lot of, you know, mainly Estonians it seems actually. Maybe this place just isn't quite as well known outside of Estonia, but yeah, definitely worth visiting if you find yourself here. So you can see there's a Spanish one up there, English, yeah, pretty good, yeah. Wales there as well, yeah. Right guys, so third and final beer tasting then. So for this one we are going to have a look at the Stout. So this one is called Emajõe Pruulikoja. It comes in at 5.3% ABV, this one, so a little bit heavier than the other two that we've reviewed so far. From what Sing tells me, this kind of translates the Emajõe Pruulikoja. It means like your first girlfriend, like almost like your first love, kind of first pride and joy almost. It's kind of it roughly translates to something like that. But yeah, like I said, this one 5.3% stout beer. So let's have a little look at this. So as you can see with this one, if we put the light through this, it's actually it's almost like a kind of Coca-Cola colour, this one, a nice kind of dark chestnutty kind of beer. The head on this one actually has retained fairly well compared to the others, and there's still a good bit of head to this, but yeah, it pours a nice kind of very light beigey sort of foamy colour there. And yeah, if this beer wasn't so dark, I think you would get quite a little bit of transparency to it. I mean, if I was looking at this, I might think this was a German Doppelbock rather than a stout, because normally I think stouts would tend to be a little bit more kind of hazy. But yeah, it's interesting that, as I say, the other two beers that we've had have been German styles, but now we move on to something that is an English style beer. So yeah, this is pretty cool. This should be pretty interesting, this one. Let's take a look at the aroma then and see how we go on. Nothing too surprising about the appearance of this beer when you consider the style. So yeah, it does smell like a kind of English traditional stout, this one. Nice little bit of a roasty, slightly black malty backbone to the beer. In fairness, it does have a few sort of German Carafa type elements to it. Carafa, of course, is a malt by Weirmann in Bamberg, and it does have a little bit of that kind of well-fired, toasty, bread crusty thing that you'd normally expect of Carafa malt. So it does have a little bit of the smoothness of that. So yeah, a little bit of roasty black malt, a little bit of Carafa in there. On top of that, you've got like a kind of almost German brown bread, rye bready type quality there. There's a wee bit of chocolate, maybe a wee bit of a very, very well-fired brown sugar, but I'd say that this is a more kind of grainy, brown bready type stout rather than anything else. But you do get, as I say, you do get elements of like a slightly powdered chocolate and maybe just a little touch of a toasty brown sugar, but the brown sugary notes are quite minimal in this. This is quite a bready and roasty, toasty, grainy smelling stout, this one. Yeah, hoppy side of things, good bit of earthiness out of this. I wouldn't be surprised if there is an English hop in this, like Kent Goldings. I don't think it's Fuggles, which is has a very strong earthy and herbal quality to it. But yeah, the note that you get out of this one is definitely quite interesting. Yeah, it's nice earthiness, a little bit of herbal quality in there. I'm pretty sure this is like Kent Goldings that's in this. As I say, not strong enough to be one of the other ones, but yeah, a little bit of lighter grassiness. And on the fruity side of things, it's maybe just got a very light, sort of very slight kind of figgy quality to it. There's not a lot to report in terms of fruitiness, maybe a sort of very light candied strawberry, a little bit of a kind of figgy quality to the beer. But yeah, in terms of aroma, kind of what you would expect from a stout. It does remind me of some of these English traditional ones that I've had rather than the American style stouts. Let's see if that holds up in the flavour though. So yeah, this one is the Emajõe 5.3% stout beer from Emajõe Pruulikoja here in Tartu once again. Our last beer tasting for this little video. Slanja, skål, terviseks. Ooh, when you take that in, it's actually got a good little bit of a fruity sharpness to it. It's interesting that, because yeah, you get a little bit of fruity sharpness to it, but then it gets very, very dry and very roasty. So yeah, I'm going by the flavour. I think I was maybe wrong about the German Carafa, because the roasty toasty qualities in this one are quite strong in this, and it really the middle of your palate really dries out with this beer. As soon as you take this in, it's a very dry stout. This. But yeah, the sharpness in the beginning is quite interesting. So yeah, let's break the flavour of this one down then. So straight away with this beer, across the middle of your palate, that roasty, toasty, black malty backbone there blankets it. You do get a bit of a kind of bread crusty note on top of it and a wee bit of brown bread, but really this beer leans very, very much towards that kind of roasty, toasty, black malt type thing. It's a very, very dry stout, this one, I have to say. There's maybe one or two little elements of chocolatey sweetness in the middle of your palate, maybe even a teeny wee bit of a kind of brown sugary quality to it, but otherwise it's quite otherwise it's fairly it really reminds me just like a dry stout rather than anything else. The roasty toasty black malts in this make it very, very dry, and that kind of gets stronger and stronger the further you go into the aftertaste. On the hoppy side of things, there's a good little bit of an earthiness to this one. I'm pretty certain there's an English hop in here, Kent Goldings perhaps. Don't know if it's quite strong enough to be Fuggles, but it could be Kent Goldings and Fuggles together, something like that, because it does have a little bit of that almost ashy earthiness to it. But as you come further forward, it gets a little bit more herbal. There's a nice wee bit of floral aromaticity on the front corners of the palate, then round the front curve of the tongue it is just a little bit lighter and grassy. So let's look at the fruity side of it. Like I say, when you take this one in, there's a wee touch of sharpness to it, but then yeah, on the front third of your palate it does develop an almost like very slightly figgy quality to it, and then it becomes a little bit more kind of candied and strawberry. There's not too much to report in the way of fruitiness with this beer, but yeah, as I say, overall this stout is very, very dry, very, very roasted, to be honest with you. It does the dryness that you get out of this beer really, really lingers into the aftertaste. So yeah, very, very dry English type stout, this one. So yeah, it's an interesting one, that. So it's cool. It's interesting to see we had two German style beers and now we've had the English one actually. So yeah, let's leave it at that for the beer tasting. And a very, very dry stout, this one. So yeah, if you like that sort of thing, I think you will enjoy this beer. But yeah, we'll leave the beer tastings for there, and we'll go outside and I'll give you my sort of final thoughts on my time here at Emajõe Pruulikoja in the market hall in Tartu. Let's catch you guys in a little second. Cheers. Right guys, so just finishing up then at Emajõe Pruulikoja, and this was really nice actually, a nice little find. You know, we had some little kind of snacky foods and stuff. It was great. I picked up a couple of bottles of local beers that I hadn't seen before, and yeah, Lise behind the bar was awesome. She sat and talked to me about the brewery and things. So this brewery opened back in 2017. They brew their beers at Kepliku, which is a little bit to the south of Tartu, and they are working. They've got a space behind here that they're going to cut out, and the plan is eventually to put like a glass wall in so you can see them actually brewing the beers. So they do plan to move their production on site here at the Tartu Market Hall. So if you come maybe in the future, you will maybe see that this place looks a little bit different. But I was here, as I say, in August of 2020. We had a really nice time here. Big shout out to Emajõe Pruulikoja and Lise behind the bar, she was great. So yeah, guys, come and check this out. Seema and I had a really nice time here chilling for an hour or so and tasting a few different beers. So yeah, some really nice beers on offer here. I tried all the house beers. There were other things on tap, but obviously it's the house things that we're interested in when we come to a brew pub. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Nice to film at another place here in Estonia, and yeah, we'll see what else we can find during my trip over here. Until the next time, slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, terveyseks. Make sure you check out Emajõe Pruulikoja here in Tartu in southeastern, keep saying that, southeastern Estonia. Cheers.